Hello and welcome to Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures. I came in with some pepper on that one. And with me this week is...
I'm Sean. I'm Sean Connery.
Connery.
Because this week, that was a terrible Connery, can I just say. This week, we watched Entrapment from 1999. This was a Jim pick, so I'm going to dazzle you with the plot of this particular film. And I cannot wait to talk about it, can I just say. So, Entrapment, clearly from 1999, is a romantic heist thriller where an insurance investigator, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, goes undercover to catch a legendary art thief, played by Sean Connery. As they plan and execute high-stakes robberies, including a famous laser grid break-in, they begin to suspect each other, and they fall into a tense game of deception, attraction, and double crosses. This, my friends, is Entrapment.
Look, you've done it as much justice as you can, and I'm really happy that you mentioned it was 1999, because this film didn't really mention it much.
They were partying like it was 1999 for the entire film. Give us some facts, and then we're going to dive in.
Released 1999, directed by John Amiel, screenplay by Ronald Bass and William Broyles Jr., cinematographer as Phil Mayhew, starring Sean Connery, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Will Patton, Maury Shaken, and Ving Rhames. Music by Christopher Young, runtime of 113 minutes, a budget of $66 million. Box office, as according to Box Office Mojo, was $87 million domestic, $124 million international, giving it a worldwide $212,404,396, which I have to think meant there wasn't a lot of entertainment around in 1999.
So, Ben, what were your thoughts on Entrapment?
This movie is 1000% a product of when it was made. So blatant, it's unimaginable. I didn't really enjoy watching it now, but I really do think if I'd watched it then, I probably would have liked it a lot.
Do you remember when how I picked this movie? Because it was we just watched F1. You can watch our last podcast if you want to see us watch F1. And F1 feels in so many ways like a pure 90s film. They even call Brad Pitt's character like Mr. 90s or something, you know? And it was coming off of that I just said, what is pure 90s? What's actual 90s? And look, nailed it. Shall we just say?
You 100% nailed it. And it makes me think of like, we actually don't want nostalgia, guys. We don't... it's like we actually want the updated version. Like, yes, F1 gave us 90s vibes, but it didn't give us 90s. This movie, I think my problem with this is and I think I've mentioned this before, is with this genre. When it's taken to this limit of crosses, double crosses, trying to hide its hand and then reveal its hand and all that sort of stuff. Also, they don't have the greatest of chemistry on screen, and you can make your guesses as to why you think that is. One of them is 11 years old, and the other is very young and attractive.
Let's talk about that for a second, because the actual age gap between these two romantic leads, or so-called romantic leads, is 39 years. There is a 39-year gap between Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
And the movie gets it. Like, the movie mentions it. Like,
I would say this. The movie doesn't know what to do with it.
No.
Because the movie clearly, it has to acknowledge it, so they do. But also, they're a bit like, the script says they're supposed to be romantic leads, so we still better do that. But do you think people will believe it? No. Let's maybe just put some references in that just make it weirder, Ben. The references, the attempts to justify this age gap and romantic tension actually just make the whole thing weirder. And it's actually one of the brilliant and terrible artifacts of this movie, particularly when watched with a modern like lens, if you like. So, and it's something that is just like it doesn't work. It speaks to all sorts of behind the scenes issues there. And the most fascinating part of this entire movie to me is watching both of these actors try their hardest
They're really
to,
trying. Like
to
they,
sell it.
yeah.
Like, you know, you've got to know this is a fairly implausible romance matchup. And yet they both are just tasked with, well, you have to sell it. You have to somehow do your best, use every ounce of your personality and charisma and skill to try and make this work. And
And these are both very charismatic people.
oh, absolutely.
Like they do give it their best. I I just looked it up because I was wondering when did Mission Impossible come out and when did this movie come out?
Yeah.
And so Mission Impossible is first, I've just discovered.
96 for Mission Impossible.
But
And then this
but
one.
the final heist gives very Mission Impossible feelings to it, especially using the Petronas Towers and all that sort of stuff.
Not only that, there are two casting choices in this movie that are direct lifts from Mission Impossible. So Ving Rhames as sort of the helper support character, which is very similar to the role, if not quite the character that he plays in the Mission Impossible series. And they also have Rolf Saxon, who is really just doing a cameo style role.
Yeah.
He's basically kind of the weird Millennium Bug mission director at the end of the movie, but both lifts from Mission Impossible, so they're clearly leaning into Mission Impossible vibes. But so this movie, I like this movie in a way that is sort of like I need to watch it with a friend and infrequently. Like that's the kind of like that I have for this movie, because it's not something that, you know, holds a terrible lot for me on its own. It was odd at the time. Like it wasn't like this movie was ever sort of like, oh, it's a slam dunk and it's just aged kind of poorly. I'm like, it was kind of weird when it came out. And it's just gotten more bizarre and, in my opinion, more fun as it's sort of aged. So the first thing is there's the fact that these two are supposed to be, you know, romantic leads in kind of a heist thriller sort of genre. That's the first thing. The second thing that makes this movie odd is simply the plot. Like, and if we think about it, so Catherine Zeta-Jones plays Jin. Now, Jin is supposed to be an insurance investigator.
Yeah.
Now, she's an insurance investigator who is looking into a series of high-profile art thefts, you know, because they have insured the artwork and they have to sort of pay it off. And she suspects Sean Connery's Mac, who she also, even in her insurance investigator role, clearly idolizes, you know, because he's been in the business. So already kind of odd, sure. We go from that place to a spot where her boss says, she pitches. She says, I want to go undercover and you know, basically get this guy because I think it's this guy. And her boss says yes. And this is a bit like, what
says
kind?
Yes and gives her a gun.
And what is this company? Like, what kind of insurance investigation company? I even went and did research. I was like, did I miss it? Is it supposed to be like FBI or something? No, it's a generic kind of insurance company that sends one of its employees undercover because she wants to. Like, that's the
this movie
setup.
Does the classic 90s thing of, we've got to get somewhere, we can't plausibly do that, let's just do it and not ask questions. Like, there's even like jumps in time in this film where you're like, oh, how'd they get there? Why are they here? What are they doing there? Why would an insurance company do this? They would definitely send an investigator, I'm sure, but not to go undercover with a gun that she had to have flown overseas with.
it's also just like she's clearly, someone who works at a desk who doesn't do that kind of work. Like, she's not a private eye. I don't know. It's just the whole thing. And then midway through the film, she actually steals a piece of art and then gets confronted by her boss and manages to play it off as part of the deep cover that she's under. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Also, like, with this movie not making sense, this movie loves the double cross.
Loves it.
It loves it so much, it does it. Sorry. It does it like. This movie loves the double cross. It loves it so much that it does it like 4 to 5 times. And not all of them are strong. So the first kind of double cross is obviously she's double crossing the insurance agency because she's actually an art thief. And then the second double cross is like she stole a piece of, well, you don't know it's her, but turns out she stole a piece of art at the start of the film. And she mailed it to the person she was stealing it for. No, there was a double cross because Sean Connery was in the basement and took the art, and he has the art, so there was a double cross there. And then there's a double cross where she's playing the field again, and she's telling her boss that yes, we're going to catch him. And then he double crosses her at the end by saying, no, it was a setup all along to clear my name so I could be free because I got caught 2 years ago by Ving Rhames, who's actually an FBI agent. And you're just like, too many.
No, and then it goes a step further because then Ving Rhames lets her go out of loyalty to Connery. Like, so it's like, haha, it's another bait and switch. I love it and hate it and grin at it. Like, it's all of those things sort of together. And it does just create such a weird vibe for the movie. Like, it's definitely a who's playing who. Shall we talk about the laser grid sequence? Shall we talk about, first of all, the rehearsal for the laser grid sequence with the twine, and then the actual laser grid sequence in the movie? Ben, this was the iconic scene, right? And
this is the only thing I knew or remembered about this movie.
The only thing anyone remembers about the movie. Like, but how does it play now?
Weird. It plays weird now, and I hazard to guess it probably played weird then. So for those of you who don't know, it did the 90s thing of being gratuitously suggestive with its female lead because she's pretty and she was wearing skin-tight clothing. And she's being flexible and going through a laser grid, but the camera shot is just very just square on. And you see her looking very fine in her tight pants.
And Connery is obviously sitting off to the side in both sequences, sort of, I don't know, watching. Like,
he also doesn't look super comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's true, and that's what I mean. These two as romantic leads it just doesn't play. Like, so, and this is one scene where it's like, oh, that's the scene from the movie, yeah. But like, again, it's kind of weird. Like, it's a weird kind of like, it's not something where it's like, oh, you got to see that scene. Like, it's like, that's a strange and
it's
odd.
Literally referenced on the poster for the movie.
Yeah.
So she's standing there in the outfit and the lasers crisscross the screen and Sean Connery's face is imposed in the background. So it's literally an analogy for that scene. Like, that is what they sold this movie on. Like, that is the marketing.
It's also like, it's played twice in the movie, and because there's once for the rehearsal of the thing and then once for the actual thing itself. Like, and again, it's odd. Like, we've said it's odd. It's odd both times. Like, and it's kind of uncomfortable both times, I think. Like,
it's also not the best way to film that action piece.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a filmmaker, right, you've deliberately chosen to film it that way to show her off. You've not actually filmed it to show off the scene.
No, it doesn't particularly show off the choreography or anything like that. So it's all quite clearly deliberate. They were leaning into it. It was a choice, Yeah. But again, it's a choice that is simultaneously something that, people remember about the movie, but again, when you watch it, you're like, this is this is odd and unsettling.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, can I just point out, when they actually complete that heist, they are wearing some very sparkly outfits. Can I just say, if I was going to go do a heist to steal a piece of art, I would not be wearing a silver spacesuit. Yet they
Yeah.
somehow got Sean and Catherine into two silver looking spacesuits to steal this mask.
We talk about the trouble they had with like the chemistry, right? And this heist is just reminding me of, I actually think the trouble was actually with Sean's character, because with Mac, because even internally he flip-flops from someone who is charming and debonair to someone they're trying to show as dangerous. But the way they show that he is dangerous at times is psychotic.
Yeah, he's just
Like after
mean.
that,
He's just
yeah,
mean.
after that heist, he threatens to drown Jin, and he does it in a way that is brutal, and he does it in a way that is manipulative to get information that he wants. Like, he's a really sociopathic person in this film, but you're meant to kind of like him, and you're meant to doubt him, and you're meant to doubt her, and I get that, but his character walks that line a lot less successfully than her character does. And I think that's a combination of the age gap. I think that's a combination of Connery, right? Like, Connery doesn't play bad or ambiguous in most films, right? He is the good guy, he is the charming guy, and trying to flip that switch doesn't quite work in this movie.
It's also like, if we look at her character internally, like, she admires him, she's kind of in love with him. He almost kills her, and then she completely turns around and falls for him again after that point in time. Like, he almost kills her in a very nasty sort of way. Like, it's not an accident. Like, there's not, so that's what makes this whole movie, like, really bizarre. The thing that I always think about when I think about Entrapment, I was like, if they weren't so committed to the idea of these two as romantic leads, we could have avoided so many issues if we actually played it as like a surrogate father
A
situation,
mentor, yeah.
a mentor, a father, and then a daughter who, lost her dad. If we just didn't do the romance and instead we bonded the characters in this other way, yes, you would have a bit of a different spine to the movie, but you'd have something that makes a lot more sense. And I think that the actors could actually play in a more believable way. And by the way, I'm not at all blaming the actors here. Like, this is like, they could do one thing with this material and it was what they did. There was nothing
But
else. Like,
you just gave him the idea. Think about it. This movie loves a twist. Make her his daughter, and she's been looking for him. Like, and this is her into finding him because he had an affair with her mother 40 years ago, like, or whatever it was, right? Like,
and remove all elements of romance between them. Like,
yeah.
and instead it's some sort of mentor mentee,
And then the actual kind of harsh instruction he gives starts to make more sense too,
Yes.
right? Like, it starts to make more like, hey, how do I trust you? That sort of stuff. You find out it's his kid. Oh, I want you to be great. I want you to be good. And then even the turn at the end that he has where he's like, hey, we shouldn't do this heist. You're not ready for it. You're in over your head. That turn also makes more sense. Like, I wonder if there was an iteration of this script where that was the case at one point.
I don't know. This to me, and I did try and look it up, but I couldn't find much. Like, but it really smacks of, the kind of project that I think you have a script and then you attach the leads later. And the leads are slightly younger and a lot older than perhaps the script was written for, and yet they didn't alter much of the material in the
Well,
script. That's
Connery
what it feels
produced
like.
this films. I don't know when he jumped on to be a producer. It's probably at the time of his life where whenever he acted in a film, he produced it anyway. But yeah, I also tried to find some background information on this movie, and there wasn't a lot about it. I did find a couple of things. One thing that I found really interesting: the government of Malaysia was not happy when this film came out.
Yes.
because they were super duper helpful in the filming of this film with like visas and clearances and getting gear and equipment and actors to this place. And then they got real annoyed because they edited it to look like those buildings were surrounded by slums, and they kept showing slums. And Malaysia's like, well, that's not a great way to show our country. And they got real super mad.
Yes, I heard that as well. But so that's the movie. I do just want to look at the ending here as well
I have
because
a question.
the final heist. Let me just hold that question for a
Yep.
second. Hold that thought. The final heist. It's dangerous. It's big. It's epic. And she says repeatedly throughout the movie, Mac, I can't do this without you. Only you can actually help me to do this. Now, Mac's role in the final heist, before everything goes wrong, right? So the part that she wants him to do is to dress as a maintenance man, go to the elevator, and loop the security feed. After that, he actually doesn't do anything until the plan goes pear-shaped. Oh, well, they sort of do a sort of, step together through the laser grid, which is obviously like, it can't be a dance through the laser grid this time or anything acrobatic because Connery's got to do it too. So
Yeah.
instead, it's like a slow kind of do-si-do through the laser grid. But like, so it's kind of like, she keeps saying it has to be you. And I'm like, it could have been literally anybody, like literally a man that you found on the street and gave a half page of instructions to could have done that job. Now, to the movie's credit, when things go wrong, Connery has a secret escape plan that, for reasons that escape me, he didn't tell Jin about until they're actually doing it. And that seems to work quite well. So he does prove his worth, but she doesn't know that. She's the one saying it's got to be you, but what she actually has planned for him is very little.
That actually feeds into my question about this heist, right? So he actually has very little of the skills needed to complete this heist. He's not a tech heist guy. He's not an acrobat anymore. He's not all these things. Like, it's even shown throughout the movie, she does all the computer stuff. She does all of that. So how did he, and it's probably explained in the film and I missed it, and I deliberately haven't looked it up because I'm like, I didn't pick it up in the film. I wonder if Jim did, and I wonder if there's an answer. How did he make it so that she only got 1 billion and not 7 billion?
Yeah, it's not explained.
Okay.
He's got magical powers, right? So that
He can teleport, so
I think it's probably as simple as like, because the other thing is it went to her account. So it's like, so somehow he's hacked her account and he's given the money back. And I'm like, that's fine. You can hack her account and give the money back, except that you can't really hack. And like, giving the money back, I guess, is just a bank transfer. So look, it's possible. Maybe Thibodeau, maybe Ving Rhames helped him to do it. I'm not sure. But like, yeah, again, it doesn't quite hold together. So, and all of that sounds like, Jim, why did you even pick this movie? I think this movie's a fun historical artifact. Like, I do. I think it's fun. It's silly and it's implausible and it's got stuff in it that makes no sense, but it's really fun to talk about, hypothesize, think about what they wanted out of the film, and then look at what we got, and it's the kind of thing where I'm a bit like, it needed a rewrite, not even a huge one, but it just needed kind of a rewrite once you had established these cast members, and they just didn't do it. They just went with it and just said, we're going to shoot it as is.
What I found it interesting as a piece to look back on is how filmmaking was affected by things like the Millennium.
Yeah.
Like, this film was so entrenched and sold on the idea of the Millennium. Because, like, look, I remember the year 2000, right? There was a lot of mystique around it. There was the Millennium bug. There was, we're entering a new phase, the year 2000. It was big. It was huge, right? Even as kids, we knew is important, or at least it was being treated as important. And this movie, I think, really kind of cashes in on that in a not so subtle way. Obviously, like, there's literally chyrons at the bottom saying 10 days to Millennium. Like, It's kind of really all about that, and they pay that off a little bit in the film, obviously by the final heist only being possible because it's the Millennium, because there's going to be a 30-second gap and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it just, that really probably, I think, helped this film a lot at the time because people really were in on that stuff.
You're not wrong, but it also ages it super
Oh,
poorly. Can you
locks it out.
imagine? Can you imagine if you were, a young person, right? Not us, we're old, but can you imagine if you were a young
We're like
person?
middle old. We're not old.
But like let's say you're a 20-year-old today, right?
What's the Millennium?
What's the Millennium? Why do they care? What are they talking about? Why are they doing computer tests? I don't understand. And at no point do they actually go deep and say, oh, the world is totally panicking because they were concerned all the calendars were going to freak out because we were clicking over from 1999 to 2000. You explain that to a 20-year-old and they'd be like, are you crazy? What
Yeah,
was that a real thing? Was that a
yeah.
real thing that people actually cared about and could have been a problem?
And if you are young and listen to this, it was real and people were scared. And the reason was because they never programmed the calendars to go past 1999. So what was going to happen was all those calendars were going to flip back to like 1901. And they were like, well, that's going to break a whole bunch of software. Turned out not to be a big issue. They prepared for it really, really well. But yeah, people were scared.
But again, like the film does give like a line or two to explain that, but it's
Yeah,
assumed knowledge from
yeah.
the audience. And the fact is that in 2020 or whatever we are, like, it's just not assumed knowledge anymore. People are like, what's that? What are they talking about? And it's the entire, I guess, premise of the film, like, and the heist, and it's got to be the Millennium. So but again, that to me is what makes it beautifully 90s, like the fact that we literally have a film about the Millennium bug. Like it could only happen in the 1990s.
You're right. So you kind of turn me around on this being an artifact, if you will. Like if you were a movie archaeologist, this is an interesting movie to dig up because of how it represents its time, its place in the Millennium. It's kind of, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Sean Connery, both famous actors, Ving Rhames. Like, it is an interesting piece of cinema to excavate from the 90s. And I think, achieved your goal here. You've achieved your goal of representing the 90s in a film, in probably a film that most people wouldn't pick to represent the 90s.
Thank you. I also think there's something nice about this movie being very much the rise of Catherine Zeta-Jones and very much the exit of Sean Connery. Like, this is really kind of the last time he would play a role like this. He
Yeah.
basically transitions from here to he did a villainous turn in the Avengers, not the Marvel Avengers. That's another thing. But he did a villainous turn in the Avengers around this time. And then he really did transition to things like Finding Forrester and, I guess age appropriate roles out of the action genre thriller space. So this is kind of a bit of a swan song, a bit of a last dance for Sean Connery, while at the same time, Catherine Zeta-Jones is on the other end of her trajectory.
Yeah.
This is like a second movie, and it's where she's really breaking onto the scene. So it's it's a nice crossover in that sense when you look at their careers. It's like he's finishing making this kind of film, she's getting into the game, and this is the transition point, if you like, for both of them.
The one thought I have now when I see Connery, and it's a weird thought, is what would his Gandalf have been like? like,
Yeah.
like we've mentioned it before in other movies. Like I think we did The Rock, we mentioned it. He turned down Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. Like, I can't picture it, and I'm really glad he didn't do it, but I want to see it. But yeah,
I think that honestly, The Rock, which is, I think that's 96, and I'm sure that's
yeah,
96 as well. I feel like The Rock is the last time Connery had real energy on screen,
yep.
like real energy. And he still delivered some great performances after that point in time. But, even here in Entrapment, it's like, he's a bit slower. Like, he's a bit more like, I guess, laconic in the delivery. Like, there are moments of energy, but like it's not like a
You know,
robust, energetic performance anymore.
you know what punctuates this in this movie, and it's a nothing moment. It's a literally nothing moment. He kind of skips up some stairs quite quickly, and it literally caught me by surprise because he moves so slow in the rest of the film.
Yeah.
And I had a thought of, because it's from behind, I don't know if that's him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he was like, nothing out of the ordinary. Something everybody does every day, skipping up a few stairs. But I'm like, oh, I don't know if that was him.
Yeah, yeah. It starts to play on you in that sort of way, because of the way he's typically moving. So, which comes back to your idea about Gandalf. I'm like, look, I would have loved to see it too, but you think about just the energy required for that shoot. You think about the physicality of that role. Like, he may have actually just been a little bit beyond
Yeah.
what Gandalf needed at that point in time. So I mean, we'll never know, but at the same time, yeah, it's one of those mysteries, isn't it? It's one of those what ifs.
What ifs?
Look, if the good people of the interwebs want to find out what if we've watched another movie, we have, haven't we? We've watched a lot, in fact.
I was going to say, strangely enough, this is the only one we've ever watched. But no, yes, we've watched many, many movies, and if you want to kind of watch along with us and see what we thought about them, you can do so by just looking up Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures. That'll help you find us on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. Once you're there, and once you've found a movie you want to watch along to, leave a comment, like, subscribe. Let us know that you've seen it. Let us know that you've liked it. Let us know your thoughts on it. Let us know how you might disagree with how we think about films. We're okay with that too, as long as you're constructive. If there's a movie you want us to watch,
put it this way: if you, if let's say this will never happen, so let's just say it. If 20 people write a comment, I will recreate the laser grid scene from Entrapment, and Ben, you can watch on the monitor. We'll set up Twine. It'll be a whole thing.
Okay, so the 6 people who watch our videos, you're going to have to find some friends. Because we need this to happen. But if you want to follow us on any sort of social media, you can do that also. Jim_and_Ben on Instagram, and Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures on TikTok. Jim, you did such a great job of bringing us a movie that encapsulated the 90s.
I did, didn't I? Good on me.
Good on you, which gave me the thought of, I would like to do something similar. But I would like to do something similar with the 80s. I want to bring us a movie that encapsulates the 80s. Now, I've come to 2 films that I think encapsulate the 80s in very different ways. No, I'm just going to pick it. So I want to read. I want to read you the back of the box, if you will, or the description on the streaming service for this movie. Ready? Truck driver Lincoln Hawks loves his son, but when his wealthy father-in-law attempts to gain custody, he finds that he has no money to go to court. The solution? He uses his God-given talent to enter the world of professional arm wrestling, winning contest after contest, where he arrives at Las Vegas for one final bout. Do you know what this movie is?
No.
This is Over the Top, starring Sylvester Stallone. It's his arm wrestling movie.
I don't know if I want to watch this, Ben.
That's what we're going to watch.
Doesn't sound like a good time. It's like Stallone in an arm wrestling movie. I'm like, oh man, do we have to?
Look, it's a time capsule. It's an archaeological piece. It represents the 80s. I just want to watch him arm wrestle. I've never seen this movie. I've seen the trailer for this movie many times.
Wow.
But I've never seen this movie.
What are we going to watch it on? Is it easy to find?
Yeah, it is. It's on Prime. Right. And even if you don't have it, it's like $4 on a few different streaming services if you want to rent it.
No, I have. I actually have Prime at the moment, so I can watch that. But
I think it's Prime MGM. But yeah,
I have that for Stargate. because you
Yeah.
gotta go through the gate. Look,
So
we will see you next time on Jim and Ben's Movie Adventures for what is it? Arm wrestling,
over the top.
over the top. I look forward to it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.